So that's what the OneMindSet Foundation here, something that can continue to go no matter the incident or the crisis. We almost like a service. So like the same way you'll see AT&T pull up with a cable, you know, when you see AT&T, they coming in to put in Wi-Fi. Well, you see OneMindSet, we come in to uplift and make change in the community. And so that's the point of our foundation here today.
Hey,
what's up? What's good? What's good, McKayla?
Nothing, man. I'm just chilling, finishing the day. Be here. How's it going?
Man, I can't complain. I really been meaning to hop on with you. I need a little mental therapy talk, a little mental health talk. It's real out here. Gas prices high, food prices high. Man,
Hello, gas. Oh my god, yo. Oh my gosh.
So, well, I'm gonna start it off by introducing you. So right here, McKayla Roberts. I forgot where you got your master's at, but that's not even important because she's getting her doctorate right now. She's going above and beyond. She's a doctoral candidate. Which school?
I go to the Wright Institute in Berkeley, California.
There y'all go, Berkeley, California. She in LA living big dreams. Yes, sir. Let them know. But I'm gonna also let you speak on yourself too. I'm gonna put some questions into that. I'm gonna let you really talk about it because, like I said earlier, a dog should wag his own tail. You know, let you speak on it. That's hard work. But I wanted to speak on why is mental health important, and also in the Black community. So I went and did some research. You know me, I love research. So I do. So high profile African Americans that have died by suicide in the past couple of weeks. We have the mayor of Hattsville, Marilyn Kevin Ward at 44, former Miss USA and attorney Chelsea Chris at 30, Walking Dead star Moses Mosley was 31, and Ian Alexander, the son of Regina King, died at 26. Those are all young ages. Let me write down the question. What is mental? Let me put the question. There you go. That way people can know. All right, there you go. All right, then here we go. So the Grim Trend brings up research conducted by Rita Walker. She's a psychologist lab here at the University of Houston. To get into it, she just spoke on that anything that is perceived as mental health related is taboo in the Black community. To further complicate things, getting help is seen as a weakness. So folks press on even when they are struggling. Doing so is part of a cultural legacy of survival in the face of brutal circumstances. So just instantly, man, like we always believe in that, man. We in survival mode. You gotta get in where you fit in. Sometimes, man, you can also talk out and speak on it. So prior to the pandemic, before the pandemic even started, suicide deaths were increasing dramatically for Black adults in the U.S. The rates continued to increase during the pandemic. Over the last decade, suicide rates in the United States have increased dramatically among racial and ethnic minorities. Black Americans in particular, suicide deaths occur across the lifespan have increased for Black youth, but the highest rate of death is among Black Americans aged 25 to 34, said Walker, who believed one way to stem the trend is to continue bringing these conversations into the public arena, which we have here. Suicide is preventable, a public health problem, and it's time to get proactive in addressing it, said Ms. Walker. So if Ms. Walker was watching, I'll tell her we're trying to address it. So one of my first questions would be, why is mental health important? And I already got a 10.
Man, that's such a good question. I think it varies for many people, but I would say that mental health is important because it helps you build those social and cognitive functioning skills, but it also helps you identify different patterns in your life that you might have not noticed, like thought patterns, whether theme or how you're building your self identity, but also it's good just in general to have therapy because you're working on your mental health, which is a part of health in general. I think we stress a lot with physical health, but not you stress a lot with mental health as well, like the whole person. But mental health is also a part of health, so it's you need to build that mental strength and those mental emotional capacities for different times in your life, or even just in general with social interactions with people. So it could really vary for multiple different people, but for me personally, I think you could literally go to a therapist and you could have nothing wrong with you, like no depression, no major diagnosis, and simply use it to like start pointing out those patterns, like, is that me? Like, is that my thinking, or is this something I've internalized? Like, you don't actually
Mm,
have to have, this like an issue or stress something just to go to a therapist. And I think that's where like we start seeing people like, well, I don't necessarily really need therapy. Like nothing's actually wrong with me, but you don't have to have something.
mm.
So
I like that. I like that. So before I ask the question, why is mental important? But I also want to speak on you. So I want to just speak on just on your mental health journey as being a mental therapist. So starting at why did you want to become a therapist?
that's such a good question. I didn't even start out in this field. I started out in like a biology major. I was studying MMB, which is medical molecular biology, because I
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to be an
super smart.
yeah, I wanted to be an ortho. And it was like for such a surface reason. Like I wanted to be an orthodontist because I noticed like when my sister had braces, she started to like smile more and she got gained more confidence. And so as I took one of those MMB courses, like one of the classes we had to take was psychology. And like
Mm,
through that intro to psych class, I learned like my way of thinking was like a surface level way of thinking. It wasn't just because she was smiling. It was what that, what the braces did for her internally. It's what, like,
mm.
showing us actually represented it. And that's when I was like, I think this is exactly what I actually meant to do. But like, I
Yeah.
didn't hear therapy or psychology before I was an undergrad. Like, I'm a Black individual, so like me, and I don't speak for all Black individuals, but like I didn't grow up where we're like, oh, we're going to a therapist because you're not feeling good or because you're crying or because you're a sport, like an athlete. It was okay, like handle it at home. So that's when I really started to get into it. Why I continue to do it is because like my desired population or people I want to work with is one, Black individuals in particular. There's a little over 4% of therapists in the US that are actually Black. So that's like a huge issue. Like if that's where it starts, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not people who are therapists that look like us. And if I'm going to go in therapy, like more than likely, like I'm going to be scrambling to find a Black therapist. So it's like
Mm.
not only that, but also like challenge. It is a predominantly white field. Me going into this field, and I'm sure like other Black therapists can attest to this, is like you start challenging this way of thinking by being in the room. So it's like not all these tools or not all of these psychological assessments are based off of, research that take into account chronic stress or like vicarious trauma from like, watching someone die at the hands of a police. It's not taking into account all of those different cultural diverse issues. And so even just being in the door can start challenging those and make like therapy something that's more appealing to Black individuals. So that, and then also I think my like last reason, which is like what I'm hoping to study and really get into, is the forensic psychology side, because of the carceral system and typically seeing like a lot of African Americans being brought into the system, but not any of those factors necessarily, like the whole idea of reducing recidivism, which again, that's like coming out of like jail or prison and then going right back in, because of those factors that were originally the reason they went in are still present, but they're like exacerbated, they're emphasized, and we're not like putting that forefront of like, man, how is that going to impact them mentally? So like that's what I'm hoping to do in my actual research part of it. So
Okay, from there I want to ask you, because I'm gonna get deep into it, but I want to ask questions for people that maybe want to become a mental therapist one day. So, how can someone become a mental therapist? What would be your steps into it? Like, if it's like, hey, I want to get in the mental therapy field. Like you say, like that's not something you just thought of, but he's like, okay, this is what I want to do. So, with steps that have to be in line in order to join that field. So, what would be like 5 steps or just an intro to tell somebody like this what you need to do in order to get into that field?
I think, that is such a good question. I think one, like the desire, to go against the grain is going to be like one thing. Like it's not very common. Like I said, only like a little over 4% are Black therapists. Um, but also just like wanting to learn more about yourself. Like I've learned so much about myself even in this field, but like that desire to not only like understand and learn more about yourself, but also like the people around you, even the community you come from, like not just the Black community, but like Latinx communities, or even like, you know, from like a white privilege or a white fragility standpoint, or just like a white American standpoint, like understanding and knowing more about yourself and also wanting to help others do the same. So like someone with a caring spirit, but also like, you know, is willing to dig down and do the extra work. But also how to get into it would just be like shadowing like a mentor. And for me personally, I would like to shadow like a mentor, supervisor, clinician that is a person of color, because of the barriers that they would have had to already climb to get where they are right now. And that's not to say like someone who is not a person of color can't be beneficial, but it is very helpful because their lived experience, they're using their lived experience as they had to also jump through the hoops of becoming a licensed clinician or therapist. So yeah. And also I would also like to say that, you know, you don't have to be like, there's so many things that a therapist can be, you know, like you can work, or even just psychology, like there's organizational psychology, you can work in the business field. I know Chad wants to work in the sports field, like with athletes and everything. Like even what you're doing right now, you can study psychology and it's beneficial because you're bringing that information back to the community. So even just like recognizing that this skill or understanding like your bare emotions and how other people, like other people's emotions, is not like, you know, something that's just for like a diagnosis or mental diagnosis. You can literally take this anywhere because understanding individuals is a helpful tool for any field, you know. So
Okay, so boom, here go my question. So you said I can take that, run with it, and put it in my field. So I'm not deep into psychology, but I know some of the basics like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I watched our YouTube video. So by using the Maslow hierarchy of needs, I want to take that question and put it into the Black community and wrap up that question is why is mental health important? And so just starting off with just the basic level of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, your psychological needs, or just like your roof over your head, food, safety, things of that nature. A lot of those things are what you lack in poverty. So, so from my question from there is, how can someone? So here we go. It says, how can mental therapy help when someone is living in poverty? So how can mental therapy help me if I'm already lacking all the basic hierarchy needs that a human needs just to survive? So how can mental therapy help when I'm already missing those basic needs?
right, that's such a good question. So in general, like for someone who is like at a living in like a situation of like poverty, or just they're missing that need that they need to access, or to succeed or anything, like I would think that mental therapy, and again I don't speak for all the therapists, but it helps work on your self-esteem. But I think the self-esteem, the positive, it identifies your like your patterns of thinking, like whether you're utilizing more positive talk, which, or positive self-talk, or negative self-talk, which is like, you know, I'm never going to get anywhere, versus like, you know what, this is a situation where like, you know, it's not desirable but I can get out of it. But also it helps you identify what have you internalized that are actually outside of your like control. So like those external factors, if we're thinking about the Black community or Black individuals, it's more than just like living in a system of living in poverty. It's a systemic issue. So also taking apart those different things and like realizing it's not just you. It's not like, depending on the situation, like it's not your parents, it's not your caregivers, it's a larger issue that needs to be addressed. So just the individual going to mental therapy could help identify some of those thought patterns and some of those like guilts and even self blames for self, that I can never be more. And it can help you like develop some of those, like a higher self-esteem, and, you know, come out to be like, you know what, I can be more, or even like radical acceptance of this is where I am here now, like, but I can also desire or have hopes for the future of being something that completely is like outside of what my norm is supposed to be, type of thing. So
Man, so I know you do a lot of work for your mental health, mental therapy for recidivism, people that go back to jail. And then my dog Taz that hopped on. When I work in juvenile detention center, my dog Taz worked in it, so that's why I was all excited when I seen him join because I have. Yeah, that's why I was all excited. I was like, my boy Taz hopped on. He need to listen. But my
hey.
next question would be, he said, let's make trouble. She said, let's make therapy part of the culture because lives depend on it. No, that's true. And that's gonna take you to my next question. So one of my questions is how can we find a mental therapist? Okay, so say boom, I'm dealing with a lot, but how can I seek and find one? So like say I'm living in poverty, I'm already can't afford to eat. So how can I find a way to afford a therapist, and how can I even find a therapist?
That is like, I'm telling you, all these questions are so good because I think about these like all the time. I think the most common way is like for younger students and even college students, which is like a whole separate issue, but like utilizing the school therapist or a school counselor or a school social worker, like seeking out those individuals because they offer that community help. And typically, like if it's from the school, it's free, you know? So that's one way. But also like visuals who might have gone to therapy themselves and like seeing what they offer, but also the insurance companies. It's just like so many different ways, but they're kind of like the situation where you have to know someone first, for a situation where you don't necessarily have so much money, because there are therapists who charge a lot of money.
So
Like
my
it's like
question would be, what's one way? So it sounds like we found a problem. So let's come up with a solution while we on the Instagram live. So does low income have program? That's what I was just about to do. I say so we found a problem. So let's find a way to find a solution. One of the problems I can see right now is that if you either have to know someone or you have to be inside of maybe college. Everybody's not able to go to college. Okay, so let's X out those group and let's leave us with the percentage of people that's not going to college. They probably can't afford insurance already to live, so they can't afford the insurance to get a mental therapist. So, what are one ways that a person that's living below those means can achieve a therapy? Maybe it's something that a foundation can bring, or something like maybe the city or the mayor can bring. What's something that can to help bring change for that area?
I don't even have like a complete answer to that because it is still an issue. I know certain therapists will like charge high amounts so that individuals who can't afford like maybe a $200 session, which is already, can pay something like $30 or $40 and $50. So again, it's like who you know what I'm saying? You would have to know which therapists offer that type of help. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't have a complete answer for that because it is definitely an issue that I still see
Okay.
exist.
So my
So.
question would be, so for I'm gonna add it all together. So I got a couple questions. I'm gonna just wrap them up. So, do you believe being a mental therapist? Do you believe that you being a mental therapist can is making change in your community or
Oh,
in any community?
um, I say absolutely. One, because like I said, there's not that many of us. So spread us across the US, like you're hoping you get a black therapist. But also it's changing how, you know, policies or like even just medical policies, other policies, how they actually like write about diagnosis and stuff. They're not always comprehensive of what it might be from a multicultural perspective, because so much in the past has always been like this is a white field. So it also helps like challenge those but changes those policies to make them more like, you know, appealing to us but more comprehensive. And then also like I think I have really just having that shared culture aspect with clients who are like people of color has been like super like help me myself like build rapport a lot quicker, like even for myself, like not even for them but even for myself. I feel a lot comfortable with like less code switching, you know what I'm saying, in a
Mhm.
therapy. So then I'm also building my identity up in the clinical field, being myself. So I don't know. It's just so many different things, but it's definitely a help. Like, and also you want sometimes clients want someone who is just a person of color because of that shared cultural aspect, because of potential oppression that, you know, a white clinician might not be able to physically or mentally understand, no
Okay.
matter good one or not, you know?
Okay.
So.
So I'm gonna ask this question. That was a great question. He says, now that's all I'm saying. That was a real good question. It says, do black therapists address problems related to black people, or do they just give general across the board therapy? That's A. Floor is yours.
It I guess it depends like which setting you are in. You know what I'm saying? Like some clients come in, like black individuals will come in and they're not necessarily like struggling because of like an identity issue with their blackness. But there's also other times where we will have clients come in that will actually like, yeah, exactly, Roland, that will actually like their issue is centered around them being black or them experiencing you know, chronic or vicarious trauma. So, for example, we'll take the murder of George Floyd, and there were so many, like, you know, increases of depression because of that vicarious trauma of us actually witnessing that event, which is like could attribute to like a client coming in with chronic stress because they're every time they go like driving in the car and they might see a police officer, they might like, you know, be anxious, or like they're going to a store and they might be anxious that somebody might follow them. So it just kind of really depends on what the client is presenting with as they come in. And sometimes it'll be like an issue completely not related to race, and then we'll keep going throughout the therapeutic like service and you'll find out it was deeply rooted because of like a race issue. So it just depends.
Gotcha. So look, that his question led us to some questions I have. Okay, so we talking about mental therapy. You brought up depression, and you brought up just focusing on black people. So I'm gonna screw this word up, but you see me type it. So it's called Maturius Manimism, which is basically Willie Lynchism, and we're comparing it to the communist power brainwash. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because statistics was brought up for the communist power brainwash, but people don't know was at the time during the I don't want to say it was either World War I, World War II. The communists, it was a group of 7,000 soldiers. They brainwashed them into where they didn't even have to use war techniques anymore. Like they was in a camp, no weapons. They just believed like they was okay, but not knowing they was under enemy territory because of how they brainwashed them. And then you take the same effect of the Willie Lynchism, because both of those same things had one goal: to take a group of people, divide them, and to lose power. And so those was both of those things that they was trying to encompass in between these two things. I got this from Dr. Floyd. And so the reason why I brought this up is the statistics was done on the problems that happened between the communist power brainwash during that time, but statistics was never brought up and done on a Willie Lynchism that can still be in effect here in our black community. And so the reason why I brought that up is, do you see as a mental therapist some things that we've been struggling for generations? That's always, it seems like people say, like I heard the phrase, like new little phrase, like, you know, energy can be passed, and people say that. So do you believe like things that we've been struggling with since slavery can be passed on through generations, to like from because like what I'm saying is, as a child you're born with a blank canvas, but the picture of the world is what the people around you make, your community make, and your parents put upon you. That's the picture you paint from the world. So if your parents are growing up the same way that they grew up from past generations, a lot of times those things can be put into your lives. And so what I was saying is, as a mental therapist, do you see that a lot of the same cycles, the same things going from generation, from maybe talking to a parent to a child? Do you see those things?
Absolutely. Like intergenerational trauma is huge and it's real. And you can break the cycle, and that's what I meant about like identifying those patterns of it's actually me. But like you're saying, like parents live a certain way, and then you take like a black parent who might have to teach your child how, well, they might teach a child how the world works. So then they're passing down not only that like information of like, hey, if you see a police officer, you know, this is how you should behave. Yes, you have to like be different than other people. And that might build up that like chronic stress, just from like vicarious trauma, which is so more, is so common. It's like way more common than we actually think. Everybody thinks like you have to witness the trauma for yourself, and you don't. You could hear it. Your parents could tell you stories. It could be all over social media, which like unfortunately we have right at our fingertips, that the algorithm always likes to show us those different type of things, you know what I'm saying?
I like the
So
word algorithm. That's my word.
it literally, like, yes, I say absolutely yes, they can be passed down. So
So dealing with the algorithm, so a lot of people are like, man, what is algorithm? So the reason why we say, I mean, it's like a friend, like we say in like friend group and stuff, algorithm. But what algorithm mean is basically, so for Instagram gives you an algorithm of what you will see based off what you like. You can see that through different social medias, different internet sites, and through the usage of your phone. They'll give you an algorithm based off of what you like. And so what I would say is put that same perspective. That's the algorithm that can be brought into your life based off what you view, based off what you think. Those things will be shown up constantly within your life based off the algorithm you present within your perspective mindset. And so from there, I want to go right here with I'm gonna take that same thing I just dropped about the algorithm and take it to Roland question. He says, what do you think will help change the negative views and approach the black community has towards therapy? Do you think it's a real view or fear-based views, off cost? Or so I want to take that and says, so I feel like us as black people, I don't think we fear, I don't think we fear mental therapy. I think we fear showing like our true colors. I feel like we fear. I like. I feel like we fear showing somebody else that we're actually vulnerable. Because you know, as a black person, you want to always seem like, man, like I got it. Like you won't never want to show somebody else weakness. Because if you show somebody else weakness, then it might take as a chance as vulnerable to take you down. Because us as black people, you know how hard you have to work just to get to an even playing field. So you feel like if you show weakness at any time, then somebody can swoop right up under me and take me from that even playing field. I'm gonna get back to square one. I'm gonna be back where I started. And a lot of times, us as black people, we don't want to go back to where we started. Like we worked too hard to get to where we at, so we don't want to speak on the. You know what I'm saying? We worked too hard to get to where I'm at. I'm not going back. So if I speak on like what's really going on, you might use that against me. And so I feel like that's the problem we have. I know me personally. I'm like, oh no, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna thug it out. I gotta go harder. You feel me? But even though I'm gonna ask you that, like, even though there's a negative, I feel like it's a negative and a positive, because a lot of times those that tell themselves I gotta go harder, they find ways to do greater things in life. But also though the more things you do in life, it's like the more accolades you put on yourself, the more success you put on yourself, is more pain that you hide deep down inside. So you're not really fixed inside, but like to the world view, you're like, man, we got a lot going on. He's doing good, but like inside he's actually doing good. And so I feel like that's where mental therapy should play a part. Into speaking on like you can do good while also being vulnerable and knowing like, man, life gonna be hard. So speak it out, speak to somebody. But I feel like a lot of times we don't want to speak on it and talk to others because we feel like, man, they might use it against me.
right, I completely agree. Like I'm seeing a lot of like comments in the chat, and like I agree with those too. Like it really is how like not only other people's perception of how black individuals like, you know, handle things, like we're a resilient group of people and all of that, but also like how we internalize how we are supposed to handle things. Like, you know, like you said, we have to work to the top. We can't be like acting a certain way in corporate America, you know. We can't
Yeah.
be acting a certain way in professional settings. To us, we've internalized that, but also like other people have showed us, like, you know, if you act a little bit different from our standards of professionalism, like, you know, we're gonna be looking at
That's
you
true
like,
too.
you know what, like you're
True.
black. like, dang, yeah, I'm Black, but I'm also like, you know, a therapist. I'm Black and I'm also this. And it's like it
Yeah.
really starts the bottom. It's like the family dynamics, you know, like I saw something in the chat saying like nothing's wrong with you. Like that's what my mom wasn't saying that, but she was like, don't show people like you're crying. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
real.
crying, like tears are like a natural response. I can have happy tears, sad tears, mad tears, but like I did not learn that they were okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Hmm.
and I agree, like therapy can help like identify those patterns of like, man, I can't show you that I can't be in therapy because I'm weak, or I can't cry because I'm weak, and like identify, where did that come from? Is that actually you, or is that from your like your culture's view, but or is it from like, you know, society's view? Because it's not just our family, it's like also our family has like a view of how to act because of the systemic issue of how society might view us as well in different settings. So I
I
completely.
want to go from there too. You said your family's giving a view, but as I got older, I realized your family view on the world is the view that a view on how successful they got. So like a lot of times, like they got to this point of their success because they didn't show fear. You feel me? They didn't show. I ain't show no tears when I got this far. When I made it this far, we can show that. So a lot of times, that's what they teaching you because that's at that time in that generation, in that time period. Uh, that's what they had to do. But right now it's a different period to where we're more understanding, especially in our generation and in the generation under, like with the power of just social media, Google, books, the knowledge. Like you can understand, like the more developed you are mentally, the further you can go in life. Because a lot of times we were just thinking like, man, we got to work hard. Hard work gonna get further. Like hard work only will get you so far. Like you got to have that mental capacity to know like you have to be more intelligent than you are strong. And also I want to play a part in this too. A lot of people in the Black community play sports. You feel me? We're more than likely if we was a family of 10 people, we had 10 people in family. I bet at least 8 of them playing a sport. So if 8 of us playing a sport, we already taught the same things in sports, which is just you can't be tired. You can't show weakness. When you're on that field, you got to be a dog. You know, and we take them same values, even though they're not wrong, but we take those same values and we put them into life. And like a lot of times that's good in a football setting, but a football game only gonna last 60 minutes, my dog. Like when you come in this life, that thing right there gonna last to the end. So it's cool to always be mentally strong, but man,
Right.
eventually you gotta breathe in and out. You're gonna have to come back to your senses. Like I meditate a lot, and like because I realized like, man, football that's 60 minutes, but this
Yeah.
life here, man, I gotta see. Every time I wake up, I gotta do life again. So every time I do life again, I gotta breathe in. Let me just
Learn.
come to my senses. Cause life hard. Like I don't care what you do. You can have $1,000,000 in your back pocket, but it's still gonna be hard regardless, no matter what you do, who you are. And I feel like we have to take away that, like, man, we just get stronger. I'm gonna go through it. I can go through a brick. I can do anything. That's true, but also you got to take care of your mental because you won't last long. Like
Yeah.
you won't last long.
That's
And so
so
from there, yeah, for real, I'm just speaking. I can speak on that because I just seen
true.
both sides. Like especially as an
Yes.
athlete, like at OU, we had mental therapy. Like we had like free sessions we can go to, and like it wasn't until my injury that I was like, let me tap into mental therapy. For real, what's up, my dog? My dog Robert for the Celtics. Yeah, he even saying facts. So look, the dog he played for the Celtics, and he's saying mental therapy important. So like I said, it don't matter the amount of money, the amount of success, mental therapy is important. And so just for saying that, like I didn't take it serious until my injury, and I was like, man, I was kind of taking a
Too.
toll on me. I was like, let me find a way to speak it out. And so I just went to therapy one time. I only went one time, but he talked
Yeah.
to me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take some of these things with me and I put them into my life. And so from there is I want to ask this question is what is depression?
What is depression? So depression is a mood disorder. Typically people see you like people like, oh, they've been really really sad for a long time. It's so much more than that. It's like you have depressed moods for most of the day, almost every day. You have like these disinterest in like activities that you usually found pleasure in, you know. So like whether that's doing your leisurely reading or calling your friends and hanging out with them. Sometimes you'll see like some weight loss or weight gain, depending on like if it's an increase or decrease of appetite. Like people will eat more or eat less. Um, Sometimes they'll stop moving. Like I know, like sometimes you'll just get up and you don't want to do anything. You're just sitting there. So like that lack of movement, you feel very like sluggish. You feel tired. You don't have much energy. You have those thoughts of like, worthlessness and hopelessness. But like you also have those thoughts of like so a lot of times you'll see thoughts of suicidal ideation will come up. So just those different types of symptoms will show, because it's more than just sadness, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm. So you said it's more, can you be depressed and still active? Because I know a lot of times people are like, man, you ain't depressed. You like, you know what I'm saying? You just, like you can be depressed and still active. Is that right?
yes, you can. I see clients do it all the time. So absolutely.
My brother and my brother. So look, so does depression have an age on it?
Front door.
Oh, not
No
at all.
age.
Sorry.
Not an age.
No,
No age.
no, it,
Okay.
it could
So
literally,
my next, what you said?
I said it could be from like many things. Like it doesn't even have like a certain thing like, oh, you're depressed because you meet all these. No, it could be like an event. It could be somebody died. It could be like divorce, not only for like the parents, but the child having to witness that. It could be like financial stress, which would be like the answering your poverty issues. Like so many things. Like no age, no actual thing as to like why. So.
All right. So what I wanted to do, I'm trying to make sure I had a question. 'Cause I wanted to do like a mock thing with you before I'll make sure I ask all the questions. My last question would be, what are the pros of mental therapy? So like, what are pros that come with mental therapy?
I think the major pro, and this is my opinion, is just having somebody that is like unbiased. You know what I'm saying? Like they might have their biases, but they're not supposed to be like enforcing their biased views on you. Like it is really like a space for you to take up. Sometimes we don't have space to take up, but like taking up space to like literally voice those different things that you're feeling or the things that you're thinking, or like if you're confused, you can talk those things out loud. It is your space, and you're telling it to someone who is like essentially a stranger in the beginning, but also they don't have those like family, like those family views that we have. They might point out because they might have that idea like, oh, Black culture is typically like, don't go to therapy. They might have back of their mind for like additional information, but they're not going to be like, like, why are you here? You're Black. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, you are feeling this type of way. Like, where do you think that's coming from? Like, what is
Yeah.
that? So I think that's the
Yes.
main like.
So my
And
last one will be, my last question is, how can we make mental therapy less of a taboo in the Black community?
I think conversations like these, honestly, like it brings it to the forefront because it's honestly like we're all thinking about it. You see everybody in the chat, they're talking about it, they're talking about
Yeah.
their, like everybody is talking about, but like having a space to actually bring those conversations up. And then also like Black individuals taking this information and then sharing it with other Black people. Like, man, I
Mm-hmm.
heard about therapy the other day. Like, have you been? Or like, what you think about it? You know what I'm saying? Having those
Mm-hmm.
outside of these major platforms as well.
For sure. So boom. So for the next 8 minutes to eight, because some people they may have like views against the mental therapy because like sometimes they never seen it. So imagine we just did. I came down. I booked my session for 7:53 with
Mhm.
Dr. Roberts to come in and do
Okay,
my mental therapy.
I
You
have
said
to
what?
grab my charger. Let me grab my charger so I can
Grab the
be.
charger. Look,
Give
you
me a
grab the
second.
charger.
Talk to the people. I'll be back.
Man. So what's some of y'all questions y'all want me to ask her when she come back? Her phone about to die. My dog, the motivator. You drop me a quote, Mr. Motivator. Hey, Lonnie, what you doing? Hey, how man, what's his name? How your dog did in the his pro day? Did because I know Oklahoma did their pro day. Did Okie State do their pro day yet, Lonnie? So I didn't see him at the combine in Indianapolis. My question is up there. I'm gonna look for it right now, Tia. You must have put a question super early. What is your take on toxic positivity by trying to keep your faith as a Christian? Okay, boom. Got it. Well, I just pinned it. What's up, Lonnie? My dog, Lonnie. Okie State Pro Day is March 24th. They Pro Day is late. I got my dog going 4-4-8. I got him in the 4-4s though. If you change your mindset, you can change your life. Hey, I likes that one. I likes that one. I'm gonna drop you. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna put a quote back too. Let me see. What I'm gonna leave you with.
All right, I'm back. I'm on the floor though, so I might look a little crazy, but I'm here.
You good? You good? You good? Anything to keep it going. So like for the next 5 minutes, it won't take too long. Let's just do a mock mental therapy session. So like I booked my session with Dr. Roberts, and that's the quote. I got you. I'm gonna leave y'all with a quote too, because I love it. So if I had to do a mental therapy session, I'm doing one with you. Let's do a mock one. I'm gonna be open. I'm gonna talk
All
with
right.
you like we're
All
doing a mental
right.
therapy session. So let's get it. So how
Okay.
does it start?
Before we start, my method might be completely different than other
Okay.
therapists. You know, they have their thing, but this is how I would do it. Yeah.
Okay,
So
let's do it.
let's
Let's
do
do it.
it.
Let's do it. And then after we do it, before we do it, let's answer a question. It says, what is your take on toxic positivity while trying to keep your faith as a Christian? I'm trying to see like what you mean as toxic. What is? I don't know what
Okay.
toxic.
So toxic positivity is like, and you can tell me if that's like what you mean or not, but toxic positivity is like basically having this idea like it's fine, everything's fine, even if you're going through like, you know, like the
Oh,
worst
I
day
get
of
what
your
you're
life,
saying.
like, oh well, you know, you need to keep the faith or da da da, like,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
using
I know
it
what
as
you're
a
saying.
lens of through Christianity. So
That's real though, cause that's real. You'll be going through something. They'll be like, "You gotta keep your faith." My dog, like, it's hurting right now. Like, we can't just talk about it. Like, I know exactly what you're saying.
what is my take? Okay, so my take, I am a Christian, so I'll just throw that out there. But my take on toxic positivity is like it's just as bad as like negative self-talk. You know what I'm saying? It's not like actually normal for people to be happy every single moment of the day, which is an issue. Like, you know, like, and I think the way to combat that as a Christian is like honoring my emotions and honoring that mustard seed faith. Like, you know, I might feel really, really low, but just because I feel like I don't have what I have right now doesn't mean that I won't have it. Like honoring that mustard seed faith and going back like, you know what, today like was a really hard day and that's okay, but like I have faith that like it'll get better. But also honoring like it's okay to feel like frustrated or upset. And I actually like posted something on my Instagram story today, is like leaning into all of emotions, because there's like not a negative or a positive emotion. Emotions are just how we react or respond to certain things that like we've experienced in our life. And I think normalizing all emotions, even the ones that are angry and sad, is like a good place to start with toxic positivity. So
I got you. I want to leave with before we do this. I want to say this. A lot of us throw out the king and queen, but a lot of us don't know what that means. And what I mean by that is to be like, I had looked at the definition of what a king would be. I said I was speaking in Gremlin. When I was speaking in Gremlin, do you know what our major comes? We can ask that question too. So when I was speaking in Gremlin, I was talking to it was like the question was that they was asking me was the decline of black leadership in the community. And I spoke on like the different ways of what is a king, a boss, and a leader. But to break it all down, so like the definition of a king is someone that's on that's reached a higher level of just physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And why I say that is because a lot of times we try to get as strong as we can. We try to like amass as much as money as we can and say, oh yeah, like I'm this and that. But you've missed that part of just the emotional side of you, and also the spiritual side of you. And so when saying that, just saying like that's where mental therapy can play a big part in just allowing yourself to just tap in to your mental space. Like my dog said, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. So once you understand why things are going wrong. Like a lot of stuff that's going wrong in our lives is because of what we just constantly think. I'm not just saying like sometimes like you can think something ain't gonna never change. Like that's a set factor that you have to deal with, but it's some things that you can't control. And once you realize that, you can just put that positive in your life. Like, man, what can I do just to make myself happy, just to win my day, so that I myself is better for the next day. And that's something I try to do, personally, because you can't control everything. It's
Right.
impossible. And so, and her question was, do you know what are major contributors to depression?
Major contributors. I mean, common ones I'll see. It's like typically like an individual experiencing like an undesired or like stressful event. So like for Chance, like having an injury could contribute to depression. You know, watching a parent like get a divorce could contribute to depression. Like, you know, not having enough money can contribute. Like just undesirable and stressful events, and that's all like personal. Like what's stressful to me is not going to be stressful to Chance. It might be, but it might not be. So it's just like really something in your own interpersonal view that you're struggling with or you're having stress with. It could even be like yourself, like your view of yourself. So like an undesirable thing internally could be like, I don't like the way that I look and it's messing up my head type of thing, you know? So other things too that are not actually talked about are medical, like, you know, diagnosis such as like hypothyroidism. It has stuff to do with your hormones, but you could have symptoms of depression. So it's just like other things like checking yourself too, like what do you have that is also can lead like, or you're more susceptible to like depressive symptoms. So
Gotcha. So from there, let's go into the mock. So let's do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm an open book.
cool.
People that's on here, let's get it. Even children and rich people. I think she's like even.
Yeah, even children and rich people can experience like depression, and like their reasons are different than us, you know what I'm saying? Like 100%
Mm-hmm.
different.
I've seen both sides of depression.
Yeah.
I seen people with tons of money still be sad because like a lot of times, like I was saying, like with that king analogy, like your soul and your spirit, which is connected mentally, may not be at the spot that it wants to be. Like you may have everything in the world, but for your soul wise and mental wise, you're just lacking something that you're missing in your life. And so a lot of times, I know from what I've seen, that can lead to depression too. People like, man, I got all this, but I'm missing something that I genuinely want from my heart. And so I feel like that's some stuff I've seen too.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even like people who have like all the material things in the world, you'll see like they say money can't buy happiness. And it's so true because like happiness is temporary, but like, you know, maybe they're missing out on that. Like, they really, really want somebody who they connect with emotionally, and maybe they don't have that because and even if they do have that, they might have this internalized view of like, people only want me for my money. Even if it's not true, it's their way of thinking. Like we can't tell them like, you know, you can't be depressed because you got everything, because they from their perspective might be
Mm-hmm.
viewing it as like, dang, this is a downside to being rich because like I don't have any true friends, you know. So it's just different like things that people can experience, and like how are they internalizing that for themselves. So yeah, children and
That's
rich people,
definitely
and
true.
children for sure. um yeah, children for sure. But go ahead, Chance.
Definitely. So I was just gonna leave it with the mock, so we can do like a mock thing. I'm gonna run it with you. So some people that might be on the edge of going to mental therapy, but don't know how it works, or somebody like they just want to see it before they try it. We can just show them like a synopsis right now, just 5 minutes of just what it looked like if we was in the room with Dr.Roberts.
I'm gonna be a doctor one day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so excited. Go ahead.
I was,
Okay, so I'll come in. I'll act like I'm coming in. Um, hey, Chance, it's nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
man, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a tough one, man. It's like some days are better than the other, but today just not it.
Why? Why is today like not it? What's going on?
Man, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it no more. Like I know I'm at like we've been in sessions before. I know I've been talking with you before, like we just were speaking on different ways that I can just think of positive things, but I keep trying to bring in positive thoughts, but I don't have anything positive going for me right now. So it's just I'm just not feeling it today.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. You're feeling like you're not feeling it because you're struggling to find like some positive things or like these positive thoughts that you can bring up for yourself.
Um, I don't know. I'm just like, so I remember you was telling me like to just to try to not to think about the negative things going on around me, but that's all I can think about. It's just the negative.
Right.
That's all I can just think. That's all I see. That's all that every day I wake, it just seems like something's negative going on. And I just it's that I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, that could be really hard. Like, what are some of the negative things that you were thinking about today? Like, what came up today?
Man, my car stopped on my way to work. Um, I got to work late. When I got to work late, my boss got mad at me. But I'm trying to tell him my situation. He's not hearing it. They trying to threaten to fire me. Man, like I'm behind on the rent. It's just a lot of things just going on negatively right now. And I know you're saying like think of positive things, but it's like every day I wake up like just something negative in my life.
Yeah, no, that can actually be really hard. Like, that's completely valid. So many different things that are outside of your control that, that you can't really, change, but they're impacting you in a negative way. And I'm curious, like, when those negative thoughts come up or when you experience your, car stop working, like, what did you do in that moment?
Man, well, I don't know my bad. In that moment. I just sat there. I just was tired, just tired. I just felt like why me? Just why me? So that's what I did in that moment. I just sat there. To be honest, I just
Yeah,
couldn't. I just I just sat there.
right. And like, as before like your car stopped working, like what happened right before that?
Man, so I woke my alarm, my phone, my I put my phone on charge. I know I did. But when I woke up, I was 10 minutes late past my alarm. But I swear I had my phone on charge. So I looked up to
Hmm.
my phone was dead while I was on the charger. So I'm like, my luck. So boom, so I'm get up, I'm rushing. I'm rushing, trying to get to work. Putting on my clothes. I needed to eat, but I ain't had nothing to grab, so I'm already running late. So I hopped in the car. So when I hopped in the car, I get 5 minutes in, the car stopped. I'm like why me? And so that's why I just sat there and I was like, why me? And so that's just the situation I was in. That's why like I know I had a session that I was like, man, like I was trying to think positive, but it's like it was just all negative around me. So I was like, I'm just tired.
Yeah, and I want to like normalize that it is okay to like feel those negative emotions because they're not necessarily negative, they're like real life emotions. You already woke up late, that is completely valid to be like, oh man, the day already
See,
started off wrong, you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like
glad
I
you
really had
understand.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad
uh
you understand. Cause I was saying that I was
yeah.
saying it to my boss, and he not getting it. I'm like, man, I'm like he act like he's so perfect. I'm like, it just hasn't been my day, month or year. And like I know we've been having these talks. You like just think positive, but man, like today, it just got me. And then from there, after I was leaving for work, man, I was headed home. I got a call. Somebody I knew they got sick, and I'm like, man, why me? It's just like constantly just negative things happen. I know you're telling me to think positive, but man, I just don't see the point of being positive.
Yeah, that's completely valid. And you know there are days that are going to be harder than others, and I'm curious, when you have a day like today where like I mean you woke up and it was not the business, like me, I'm like, dang, let me go back to sleep, you know what I'm saying? But like when you have those days, like what can you do, to bring yourself back, like honoring like, dang, I'm really not feeling it, but like knowing that you don't have to be 100% every single time to still like just go throughout your day and complete the task. So like what can you do or even like say to yourself that'll help you remember that sometimes things are outside of our control, and it's okay, it's not necessarily negative, it just is what it is. Like what can you
For
do in
real,
those moments like today?
I'm gonna switch gears. So I'm gonna switch gears. What I would do, I know me personally, what I would do, like even when something like's going wrong, I'd be like, man, just the next moment. Because when even though I had learned from one of my coaches at LU, he's like, the only thing promised in life is adversity. And then like, that's like one of the things that I always remembered. Once I really like start getting to the real world, I'm like, man, like when you wake up, you're not guaranteed to have the best day of your life. You're more than likely guaranteed to have one of your worst days and one of your best days. Because adversity is gonna happen, something's gonna happen. But once I start realizing like adversity is guaranteed, I'm like, man, like when something happens, I'm like, okay, what can I do to fix it? What can I do just to get on to the next thing? So from if I would have woke up late, I'd be like, okay, I woke up late. Okay, so how can I at least shave off a little bit of time? Then if my car would have stopped on my way to work, I would have told myself, man, I probably would have just sat there. I'd be like, man, it just is what it is. It is what it is. I can't stop it. I should have put some gas in it the day before. It's my fault. I got to own that one.
Right.
And so that's how I would have went about it. But a lot of people can't think like that and can't maneuver like that. But that's some of the things I'll do. Like I will see like what led up to that point, to why I'm feeling like this, what may have caused that problem, some things I could have fixed to avoid that problem. And sometimes like life events that some life events you can't fix and they just happen. And so from there I just be like, man, like you said, man, just it is what it is. I always try to turn to what makes me happy. For sure, like that's why I get to playing my music.
Yeah, on the car when your car is fixed. Like, no.
Yeah, I would have played the music. And also I write daily goals for the day, and I just like and I write like daily tasks to do every single day. So like sometimes like if stuff happens, I'm like, man, let me just, because I know for me personally, I'm like I like to work hard and I like to check things off. So that's stuff that makes me happy, like to keep me going. So I'm in a slump, but like, okay, what's something that I can do right now to feel like I'm actually winning the day instead of losing the day. So I'd be like, man, let me just focus on, I can do this right now, try to accomplish this. And so that's something that works for me. Like I know something bad happened, I'm like, man, what's something I can do right here to feel like I at least won something. And so that's something I'll do.
Yeah, that's good too. And I would turn to something happy too, but also like recognizing like, why the heck am I so bothered by the things that I can't control? Because it's valid. You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I actually bothered? You know what I'm saying? Like, I did the best I could, or just like even like just identifying and having that one skill to be able to like check yourself in or like call yourself in, like, something's not right. I'm actually feeling pretty frustrated about this. Why? You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
for real.
just having that, like adapting that skill for yourself too. Like,
once I started doing it, like my life got I'm not saying my life got easier, but my mental got easier. You feel what I'm saying? Like the life around me didn't get easier, but my mental state got easier. And once my mental state got easier, like it was easy for me to get pushed past things. Because a lot of times if you're at a erratic state mentally, it's hard for you to get past traumatic things that might happen, something that might happen because you're at a mental state. So that's why I was like, man, like sometimes in the slump, I like to get in the steam room, I meditate. I just like to lock in.
steam room.
Yeah, I get in the steam. Yeah, I get in that steam room. I sit there, turn on the African drums. I just meditate. I just focus. I focus on where I see myself. For real, I focus on where I see myself later in life. I'm like, okay, what I got to do today to get there. So if something happen, I'd be like, man, that's where I'm gonna be at one day though. So like, I just like, instead of just looking at what's now, I just look at what's in the future. Because one thing I know personally, I read this book and it was like, the past is already gone. The present moment never stays still. In the future, it is the present. So what I'm trying to say is this right here. Just make it simple. The past is gone. And what you do now creates your future. Because the present moment will never stay still. So right now as we talking, it's not staying still unless we took a picture. So the present will always be the future. And once I realize what I do present moment is what I'm doing for the future. So like I was like, man, I know where I want to be at in the future. So I know in my future moment, no matter what's happened, I know where I'm going to be at. So I got to focus on what I want to be instead of complaining about what's going on. So like I'm like, man, like that happened, but I know I'm gonna be at later though. Like you got me right now, but I know I'm gonna win later. So I'm just constantly focusing on what's next. I'm gonna read a comment. I always have that everything happens for a reason. So when something bad happens, I think of it in a positive way. At least I try to. And that's real. I do that. That's real. I do that too. Like if something happened, I'd be like, it was meant to happen. Because like I know I did my part. Like a lot of times too, people don't do their part and they don't be real with themselves. Like people I'm not saying everybody. Some people like they'll give half-ass effort, but they get mad by the results they get. But like I know if I'm doing my part and doing them and putting my all in, and whatever come back, it just is what it is. But I know I did my part, and so I know once I do my part, I know whatever comes out of it, it's just meant to be. And so there's also a good way for my mental state, because I know at the end of the day I put everything into it that I knew I had to put into it, and so whatever comes. And so that's what helps me too when you ask like some bad happens. I'd be like, man, if it's happened, it's happened. I know I did my all, and I know I put my 100 in. So that's how I think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So, hey, we had
That's
a good
real.
little talk,
It's so real.
man. So if y'all got any questions, y'all can drop them down below. If not, we're gonna wrap it up.
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
just
give it.
kidding.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see if anybody got a question. Anybody got any questions? Also, y'all follow my dog, Dr. Roberts. You know, I like I said, we talk about the future here. We not right now in my eyes, Dr. Roberts. So we're gonna talk about the future. So my dog, Dr. Roberts. Y'all got any questions about mental therapy? Get at her.